Okay, so I've been psyching myself out about this joke that I wrote on my flight to Utah, and I figure I should just do it. And if it really sucks, this isn't Eve, this is actually Kelly, and I mean, we really look alike, so yeah. um, so I'm into kind of morbid stuff. I like death. And I feel like that's the most morbid thing you can be into, right? So I read this book, and it's Stiff by Mary Roach, and it's all about the ways that you can dispose of bodies after you die. Um, and I guess it's not that surprising that cremation actually can add to the greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, because in order to burn a body, you have to sustain 1400 to 1800 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 to 90 minutes. Um, and so you end up burning a lot of fuel, and you also can add things like you can vaporize mercury because, some people have mercury in their amalgam fillings. Um, so this guy decided that he was going to come up with a more environmentally friendly idea to help dispose of bodies. So he borrowed this method that I guess we already use, where people will dissolve animals left over from dissection. Um, Basically, you take water and an alkaline substance like lye, and you heat it, and it causes the body to dissolve, and it just leaves behind a brittle skeleton. For humans, it would leave behind things like metal prostheses and, like fillings and things like that. So then you can grind up the bones like you would in cremation, because you do that for cremation too, and stick the remains in an urn. So I got to thinking, this is basically like the first step toward having home cremations, something that's really affordable, and you don't have to pay a big business to cremate your loved one for you. And it makes total sense because we as a society are moving toward, do-it-yourself stuff, and you find like a lot of homemade stuff being popular right now, because we have Etsy and things like that. And you can go to Hobby Lobby or Target and you get some kind of crappy thing, and they call it distressed or vintage, if you know what I mean. So, I mean, if we're trying to return to like simpler times and doing everything ourselves, there's nothing more simple or homemade than, burying your loved one in the backyard and having like your own family cemetery. So it makes total sense. Like, why wouldn't we go back to those simple times and, take care of our dead ones ourselves? So I'm imagining that when mom passes away, instead of sending her to like a morgue or a funeral home where her body is just going to be lying in like this cold, refrigerated filing cabinet, waiting to be processed, you call like 1-800 you cremate. That's 1-800 UCREMATE. 1-800-827-36283. And I realize maybe like that number isn't the greatest, because if you're doing a DIY home cremation, maybe you're not really that great at spelling, but I'll have to work that kink out. So you call this number. Within one business day, you get your DIY liquid cremation kit. So you can go and get mom to cremating before her rigor mortis even sets in. And since the process is going to take, say like 24 hours, You have plenty of time to call your relatives and loved ones and, write a really great eulogy. So after you throw mom's memorial service, you have everybody gather around the toilet in the master bathroom. And, it's totally not disrespectful because mom probably spent a lot of time there anyway, and maybe she has like really good memories there. Like, you don't know. So, everybody says their goodbyes, and then you flush her down the toilet because, she's just liquid. Now, I know a lot of you are probably thinking there's a lot of issues to this. And the most obvious is like, how do you flush that much liquid down the toilet without it overflowing? So that's like a real concern. And then I'm guessing the other concern would be like, how do you grind up the bones that are left afterward? Like, do you use a blender or, yeah, like, does a company ship you something to do that? But, to be realistic, I think the biggest concern would really be like, what sibling is in charge of making sure that your mom actually dissolved, and when you like pour her in the toilet, there's not like a stray, eyeball floater or like a finger that didn't really dissolve. For me personally, I think my biggest issue would be, how like the pastors at funerals will say stuff like, from dust she came and to dust she will return. Well, that doesn't really work anymore because, eventually, like, if you grind up the bones, that becomes dust, but most of mom is like goo. She's just like a bunch of liquid. But, that isn't really a problem at all because I remember reading in my biology textbook that we all evolved from like a primordial soup. So I think we could just replace that verbiage and just say like, from soup she came, from soup she will return. And I mean, I kind of like that better anyway because, soup is like really homey. And I never really liked the idea of like your mom being like dust or ashes because that's just, it's really sad. Like, she's really gone. But soup is like, mom makes soup and it tastes really good and it feeds people. And literally your mom is going to be feeding people because after she goes through the water treatment plant, she's going to make some like really okay tap water. So anyway, if we can get past all of these issues, I think home cremation would be a really big hit, but not a hit on your wallet. So call 1-800-YOU-CREMATE for more information.